Morning, Justin.
Morning, Mark.
How are you, sir?
I'm good.
I am also good.
You know what today is?
I do know what today is. Today is Wednesday.
Nailed it, as always. You kicked us off with a dad joke. So
I did. That was a dad joke.
it was.
Yes.
Which I feel like is a signal that we should have some more dad jokes
That's sure.
on this momentous day, this momentous Wednesday.
That's right. This momentous
Is there
Wednesday.
anything else about this Wednesday?
This Wednesday happens to be our 100th
What?
episode. 100.
100?
100.
What?
100 episode.
100 episodes.
Yeah.
I think that explains why sometimes we say, did we do this one before?
Yeah, very much so.
Because
Yes.
we have. We've
Yeah.
done 100.
It
Exactly.
seems as if, like you say, you kind of meander, through it, and it's like, well, that one has a title, but it still sounds a lot like what we talked about in the other one.
Yeah.
That is close, but not quite the same.
Yeah.
So yeah,
So this is 100. We have 99 behind us, right? Is that
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah. Welcome to How I See It with me, Mark Pratt, and
Justin Sternberg. This is a podcast that works to counter cultural polarization through thoughtful conversations.
So for the next 100, we're just going to go right back through the same 100 and say how we've changed on our thoughts.
yes, how we now see it differently than we did it when we recorded that.
I'm sure that would
Yes.
be very interesting for the listener.
We see it in a little kinder, gentler way,
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
a little more mellow, or
I hope so.
Maybe in some ways we've become a little more dogmatic, even. You know,
Yeah.
that's the possibility is there.
I think that's like a pretty common trait as you age, right? So,
To mellow,
yeah, no.
yeah, I'd say both.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Interesting.
That's
Interesting.
Yep. Yeah,
Is that like per person it's different, or is that like,
I would say per person it's a little different.
gotcha?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I definitely see both.
And I think as we age, there's also the difference between like peace and fear. Because
Yeah.
I think some people just become a little more mellow because they're adapting to the aspect of, hey, I can't control it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
some people who desire that control tend to be a little more fearful driven,
Yeah.
so they can be a little more crusty.
Yeah. Crusty. This is a good one. I think the older you get, the more you can resonate with the Ecclesiastes, There's nothing new under the sun. Some of those, my striving isn't quite as potent as I thought it would be, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Speaking of dogmatic, did you hear anything from any 3s or 4s from last episode?
I got a text from our good friend Graham
Yeah?
saying, "Hey, you turkey, I'm a 3."
That's good. That's good.
It cracked me up. I told him I knew I was going to get in trouble for being a turd. But yeah.
Wait till I see him next time. I'll say, you look just a little bit weaker to me. Is there a reason?
Yeah, man.
Should I know something about you?
He played Ultimate Frisbee with us last night, and so every time, a play would go his way or something, he would make jokes about that, or I would, and it was a funny thing. But
see me as weak now. Yeah.
At one point, he caught one. We were on the same team, but he caught one, and while he caught it, he was like staring me down. It was funny. And then Megan, I pegged her as a 1 or 2. Well, she's a 5.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
which as we discussed it more, I was like, wow, that's kind of interesting. I think for me, it was kind of more a little bit mind blowing than her. I mean, I think for her, it kind of made sense in a lot of ways, but
Sure.
and it made sense to me once I started thinking about it. But
Yeah.
so
And
that was interesting,
And
that's success 5.
Yeah.
Was,
and then Megan actually brought up an article. I didn't have a chance to read
Yeah.
it yet, but did you?
Yeah.
Just kind of a follow up for that. Did you?
There's an article from some person who's like a certified coach for the primal questions thing.
Yep.
Which is a thing you can do. But
Sure.
she basically wrote about the 7, but what was unique about it that kind of stood out to us is she would break it down into things in your childhood or
Sure.
your, early childhood that impacted you. So
That develop those questions for you, basically. Sure.
Right. So basically saying, did you grow up in an atmosphere like this? Like
Sure.
for abandonment, did your father leave you at an early age, or
Sure.
were you left alone for long periods of time? That kind of thing.
Yep.
She had questions for each of those. So
All that attachment style stuff.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. So that was pretty cool to kind of see it in that perspective. And then reading those, like the one for the 5s was really good for, like, Megan had lined right up. And the
sure.
ones for 7, I was like, oh yeah, I definitely
You can see that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Neat.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you did share that there was a moment you were very proud of. Do you remember the moment you were very proud of? Talked about the strengths and the weaknesses of the question.
I'm so lost.
Oh man, come on now. This is your moment. It was basically they were using your. Go ahead. You're with me now.
I'm proud of Megan saying this, but
Oh, okay.
Megan, man, I was so lost there for me. No,
I have that effect lately, I guess.
So this is a good episode. There's people who are really interested. Megan was looking it up. She found a podcast episode with David Foster. That's his name, right?
Mike Foster.
Mike Foster.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Mike. He was with us here last week, if you recall.
That's right.
In spirit. Anyway, a podcast episode where they interviewed him, and he was mentioning how that question is this inner drive, and it can be a weakness, but also it's attached to this ability. It's a strength, right?
Sure.
So I desire to have purpose, and therefore, 7s are good at trying to find purpose in others and help others find their purpose. And
Sure.
And she said he used the stick. He
There you
didn't know
go.
it, but he used the stick. And I said, "What? He stole the stick?" No. But yeah.
Those are Justin's most proud moments when he can get other people to refer to the stick. That's the beauty of it.
I was talking to some friends who know you, Mark, and have been counseled by you.
Okay.
And talk about how you talk about the same. You've helped them in those areas, and I'm like, he didn't give me the credit for the stick, and they were, that was a joke, but I'm real disappointed, Mark.
Well, see, that's another area that brought us together. Other than being 7s, you had the stick, but I have the continuum.
Yeah, that's right.
So it's like
right.
it's really a similar idea.
It is
in that process,
right.
But being able to recognize, we see it from you brought the stick with you, and I brought my continuum with me.
And that's what we keep.
Therefore, there's nothing new under the sun.
Right. That's right. But yeah, so that was a good little topic.
Sure.
Sometimes I don't know going into them, like if they're gonna,
Yeah.
That one resonated, which is cool. Definitely got me more interested in that book, and
sure.
Yeah, Megan was saying we should get it. So, but yeah, 100.
Yeah,
100.
Yeah, and it's still we're gonna get to the dad jokes, but it still makes a good segue for today. In that ability that we have to, we all have this desire to be unique or special, but we're very similar in a lot of different ways.
Yes.
In that
when you can boil it down to 7, like all of humanity, can answer to these 7 or relate to one of these 7 primal questions. It kind of gives you a clue.
Sure.
About we're not that different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yet, so yes. Did you have a joke you wanted to share? I almost led into mine, but I forgot what it was just a little bit.
Well, you look it up.
I am. How do you get a farm girl to marry you?
Do you want me to say it?
Sure.
A tractor.
First. A tractor.
First, a tractor. Because she thinks your tractor's sexy.
There you go. That's the beauty of it. It's always more fun when you can see it in the word,
Yeah, it's true. The wordplay.
I
think they'll get it.
I
hear
them
them chuckling through the airwaves from the future.
Exactly. Did you have another one? Have one?
Sure. Which bear is the most condescending?
Oh.
A panda.
Of course, the panda. Duh.
Oh man, there's some other good one. You got some more?
I'll let you go. All
right. This one was. Hang on.
Oh, what? Dry. What? The dry erase board is the most remarkable invention in the last 100 years.
I like that one. Remarkable. Do you get it? Because you can erase it. And,
yeah.
Okay. What kind of noise does a witch's vehicle make?
Brum, brum.
Nice.
That's pretty good.
That was very good. I hope everyone's groaning and laughing. Just
just a little
equally,
bit.
Yeah. Oh, this one's my favorite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go for it.
You'll understand. Yeah, everyone will understand.
I believe you.
And you probably heard it before.
Have I? Go for it.
I'm sure you haven't. I'm guessing.
Brought to you by our 100th episode.
That's right. What's brown and sticky?
Oh, it's a stick.
A stick.
Yes. Oh, I thought you had a better one than that.
I mean, it's it's the stick, so it's a personal favorite.
Okay, that's fair enough.
Also, I've worn that one out so much.
True.
I say that one so often.
Yeah.
Every time there's an opportunity for a dad joke, I bring that one up.
That's
it's not very good, but
there's a list there if you want to find
another
one.
You know what? How do you know when a joke becomes a dad joke?
Oh, I think I've heard this one.
I think you have. We probably said this one on the air.
Probably.
It becomes apparent.
Ah, that's right. When it's apparent.
When it's apparent.
Yes. Yes.
All right, I got one that literally made me LOL when I read it.
A little what?
Literally LOL.
Oh, okay.
Laugh out loud.
I gotcha. I thought you said a little elf.
It made me a little elf when I read it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm good.
We'll get you up on all this.
Well,
modern day lingo.
Yeah, I just wasn't sure. Like you say.
All right.
That reminds me. As you think about LOL and all these other things, is our culture trying to move that fast that we have to have all these acronyms and we take words like sus and and
well, while our culture is shortening things, you're lengthening.
Well, I am
an acronym. I'm sorry.
That was good. I like that.
Mark bucks against the system.
Yes. Well, I wasn't meant to be all one word.
Right. Yeah, it has to do with typing, right? So,
Is that what it all comes down to?
Yeah.
It's just we want to make things a little faster to type, to be able to.
Yeah. Also, once texting became a thing, then it really took off. A lot of those analogies.
Yeah.
Or not
but I'm saying
acronyms.
Not an acronym, but I'm not even just saying all the abbreviations, by the way, or whatever, BTW, FYI, all that. But I'm talking
TLDR.
Oh, to be determined.
That's TBD.
That's TBD.
TLDR is too long, didn't read.
Oh, okay. That's fair.
So,
but
I'll explain that.
We're actually shortening up words as well.
Like
sus, if something's suspect or, it makes you, suspect, we'd say sus,
sus.
Yeah, it's a little sus.
Yeah.
If something's sketchy.
Yeah. Sketch.
Yeah.
That's sketch.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
as many letters as you can remove, the better.
Yeah.
We got places to be,
What's
folks.
the purpose, though?
We got places to be.
What's the purpose? As a 7, what's the purpose?
Purpose. All right, let me go there. I think in some ways it's just a shibboleth.
Ooh. Nice.
We're going all the way purpose, Bible. Man, you asked. I delivered.
Did. Yeah, go for it. We got those creative juices flowing now. What's a shibboleth?
So in the Bible, there's a story of...
is that like a theophany?
I don't know what that is. Maybe. You'll have to explain that one after I explain this one.
That's okay.
No, but so there's a story of this battle, and basically the people they were fighting looked very similar, and yeah.
Were the ones that dressed that put the old wineskins on and so forth, so they appeared like they'd come from a long ways away?
Yeah, I can't remember the details. All I remember is that they said you'll be able to know it's the enemy if they cannot pronounce shibboleth.
Oh.
And I don't know if I'm pronouncing
I
it
hear
correctly, but like there's they would have a lisp or not have a lisp essentially. So it's kind of like being able to roll your R's, right? You know, they can speak Spanish if they can roll their R's, you know, that kind of idea. But anyway, it's like this in thing, right? So
I gotcha.
If I know LOL and you know LOL, I mean, it puts us inside of a certain cultural aspect, and we're sharing that experience.
I gotcha.
So there's your purpose, Mark.
Is that the purpose?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, if you can
Sounds kind of elitist.
I suppose it could be. I don't know. If you can like use some of those
exclusive. That's what I was saying.
Exclusive, sure, yeah. But that's the
nature.
That's the nature of tribes, right? So
I gotcha.
There's there's a lot of psychological benefit to tribes and tribology and that kind of thing. But also we know there's negatives, right? It's my side, your side.
I gotcha.
That kind of thing. But so yeah, I think it puts you in a certain tribe, and
you'll know how to spell or how to pronounce shibboleth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So therefore you won't have to be murdered by me.
Exactly. Because I know how to pronounce the words or say them correctly.
Yeah. You can say LOL.
I'm part of it. Laugh out loud.
Turned into an elf or whatever.
Little elf.
A little elf. All right, I got one more joke.
Yeah.
And then you got the theophany.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Oh, you want to know what theophany is? After your joke.
Joke or theophany first?
Oh,
which one's funnier?
Joke first. Joke is funnier.
My wife asked me to stop singing Wonderwall to her.
Stop singing?
Singing. I'm sorry. Let me start over. My wife asked me to stop singing Wonderwall to her. I said, maybe.
Oh.
That's in the song.
Yeah, I figured.
Theophany.
Well, a theophany, long story short, is, we so often we think, or a Christophany, maybe. Does that help?
No.
Okay.
Still no.
Basically, we tend to think that, Jesus kind of showed up in the New Testament. But basically, a Christophany is whenever we have Jesus showing up kind of as a representation in the Old Testament.
Nice.
And actually coming to earth and interacting with people. Yeah. And a theophany is when, the idea is God the Father himself actually came down to earth and appeared to different people. So like Melchizedek would be like a Christophany. Where it's, basically Christ.
Interesting.
Some would say Christ himself, came down to speak with Abraham. So yeah, that's your
that's interesting.
Little tidbit for the morning.
I've definitely heard of the concept, never heard what it was called.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because there's a really cool children's Bible that we have that we use with the kids. And it is essentially that, like, it's the whole Bible and walks through the Old Testament, but it always brings it back to Jesus.
Oh, neat.
And so
yeah,
it's basically the Christophany children's Bible.
Neat. Well said.
Thank you.
So
how different are we really?
Oh,
are we really? You and I are both sevens. We're pretty different.
Yeah, no doubt.
Mm-hmm.
No doubt.
I never see you wear sweatpants. I only wear sweatpants. So that's one way.
I typically play Frisbee in sweatpants.
That's true.
Yeah.
I don't play Frisbee in sweatpants.
No.
No, once in a while I do. If it's hot. I mean cold.
There you go. No, that's fair enough. Yeah. What's another difference? What's
between us?
Yeah.
Beard and no beard? A good beard and bad beard, we'll put it that way.
I don't know if I'd go there.
A good beard and a pathetic excuse for a beard.
I would say technology.
Technology, yeah.
Awareness of technology would be one of our...
And acronyms usage.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
You use the longest, extra long versions of words, and I'll use the...
I think for me, and when you think of sus or sketch or stuff like that, where it's short, and it's like, I respect what is happening, but I think for me, I respect vocabulary so much, or the fact that words matter.
Yeah.
It's like, come on now.
Yeah.
And it does almost take on judgmental. It can almost be a judgmental perspective on my
part.
Not
in their they're not in your tribe of vocabulary.
Possibly.
Shibboleth. Use real words. What's funny about that, maybe ironic, but is, they're adding new words to the dictionary all the time. So every time they do that, you're wrong again. Like, you know what I mean? If you're basing on like, this is a real word or not real word in vocabulary, it's like, well, who defines what vocabulary is? Who defines what, like, how large your vocabulary is if it contains sus and lol and these things?
Sure.
Do those not count?
Yeah, I mean? That's correct.
When do they count? When do they count?
Just
right?
Kidding. Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? And I there's a lot of English words that are common and normal and not whatever that were also slang, and I can't remember them, but I know that there's many that we use today that are, man. Yeah, I'm not going to remember them. But
many slang that we use today?
No, they're normal words for us. They're what you would call vocabulary, like good, healthy English words that were originally like a slang in, in the Cockney.
I gotcha.
Whatever.
Sure.
And it just
evolved to become... What we would consider healthy vocabulary was a slang of one day.
Yeah.
I gotcha.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you'd be surprised how often that's true. So that's kind of my point, right? Like at some point, is sus going to be its own word, and is it a lesser word because it's shorter than suspect? And
I hear you.
I totally get where you're coming from.
Yeah.
But there's kids who use all these acronyms. They have their own language that you probably can't speak.
Oh,
right?
I agree. I probably can't even understand.
Yeah,
let alone
So I mean, I
speak
think
it.
there's something to that, right?
There is something to that.
Anyway.
Yeah.
I think you know that. But else.
Oh yeah, no doubt. And typically I'll have to ask.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes you get it, but other times it's like, what'd you say? Kind of like shelf on a little shelf.
little elf. Little elf on the shelf.
Exactly.
LOL.
Yes.
Yeah.
So in that process, and I think for me, and it's kind of funny because it will come down. I suppose I could boil it down to a primal question, because it's like I think things have a purpose, and so therefore to just kind of defense, if you will, just kind of throw it away to make it shorter, make it smaller, cut it down.
Yeah,
because I'm in. Well, from my perspective, a hurry.
Yeah.
It's like, what's the hurry?
Yeah.
Is the hurry so that I can actually just have more time to scroll on my, Facebook or Instagram type thing,
right?
Versus that ability. And there again, just a thought.
Yeah.
But I definitely, and I think some of it comes down to that aspect of valuing what you said as far as a younger generation having its vocabulary that's different. I think what I enjoy is when I'm actually around other people whose vocabulary is so much broader than mine, to where it's like, I really have to stop and listen or think about those words.
Yeah.
And I'll elevate or value what was prior, but I probably don't value enough, the new development of language, if you will.
Right.
Like you're describing, which, I have to.
It's interesting, yeah.
Yeah.
To think about it from that perspective.
Yeah, I have to. That's something I need to value in itself because of the fact that, this is a language that is developed. And it does have a purpose, even if I don't understand it. And that's probably where the frustration comes from, is I don't always understand, that kind of thing, because it's a developed language, and I wouldn't get bent out of shape if somebody starts talking Spanish or German or French, but it's like,
or using big vocabulary words you don't understand.
Yeah.
There'd be a respect for that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I still need to realize that there's a respect for the other side of the equation as well. So appreciate you bringing that up.
Yeah. Well, you made me think of the kids' Aunt Kelly, who's been on this show before. But,
sure.
She, she's, I don't know what her primal question is, but she's definitely a connector, right? So she likes to connect. And so she she will ask the kids, like Jewel, my middle schooler, like what's the language now, and she'll like use it,
Oh wow,
with them all the time, and it's really funny.
Yeah,
because in some ways she does it to be funny, but in some ways she's just doing it to connect. And
sure.
She does a good job of that, really good job of that, and yeah. So I think there's something to that too.
So do you have the ability to bring some of our audience up to date on some of the words?
I can only think of one, and it cracks me up.
Okay.
And I don't think it's a global thing. I think it's just Jewel's school, just the boys at her school. But they say skippity toilet.
Oh yeah.
It's like an exclamation, Like,
okay.
Skippity toilet.
And that signifies.
I think it's just like, oh boy,
Oh wow.
Like, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think it's a joke, obviously.
I gotcha.
Yeah. It's a middle school boy thing for sure.
All right.
But that's what comes to mind. That's
Okay.
my favorite one. I'll use that with Jewel sometimes. Just,
Okay.
Just to make her roll her eyes a little bit.
Is it a sarcastic oh boy? Or
I think
it's
so.
It's a literal.
I think it's, well, I've never heard anyone use it except Jewel explain it. So I have no idea how it's used.
That's fair enough.
In the wild.
You haven't seen it in context.
right. But I could see him doing it. Knowing middle school boys, I could just see him doing it like all the time.
Sure.
In every context.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
I think,
Well, I think what we're talking about in this process in our what episode?
100.
Yeah, that's kind of fun. That's time to celebrate a little bit.
It is.
But in that
100.
process, I think it is that what we're talking about is our uniqueness and our difference.
Yeah.
So I'm mindful of sometimes it's kind of reminding me of basically our first episode where the purpose
number one.
Yes, number one. The purpose of how I see it is this aspect of being able to see people in a broader perspective than just the one facet. And as we're talking about this, I have to recognize that I can tend to be maybe judgmental of a younger generation at times that's using a vocabulary that I don't understand.
Yeah.
And yet I probably have things that I might say, that generation wouldn't understand because my words are more antiquated.
Like I say.
Well, I'm not exactly sure. Leave
that one alone.
I wouldn't consider that, antiquated vocabulary. That would be a Marxism. There's a reason that is a Marxism.
Yeah.
But yes, that aspect, because I think about it, I was trying to think, because I think sometimes, like in my occupation, sometimes the word that comes is a differentiation. I had that my therapy has its vocabulary.
Yeah, domain specific vocabulary.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's like automatically in my mind.
HVLP.
There you go.
It's a paint sprayer.
Yes. High volume, low pressure paint sprayer.
Well
yes.
You speak my language.
Trying to connect.
Shibboleth.
But in that process, I'm thinking about it in that context of being able to, sometimes that word will come to mind, but then I'm automatically kind of, instead of using it or maybe even using it, especially with kids, it's like, I'm not going to use differentiation, but I am going to bring it down into a, age appropriate vocabulary, and it's
wish the kids would do the same for you.
No, not necessarily, but I
bring it up to an age appropriate.
Yeah.
From LOL to laugh out loud.
And yet I think there's a point where I need to extend the benefit that's just normal to a kid.
Yeah.
Or to a younger person, as I've developed this and, here again, I see that as even somewhat being similar to someone who might swear. It's like, once it becomes a part of my vocabulary, I don't even necessarily think about it. I don't even necessarily assign it a value that the person listening to me might assign to it.
Right. Like I say. That's fair enough.
Thank you. That's good. You're on a roll this morning. Yeah.
Well, I'm thankful for the opportunity.
Me too. I'm glad you're here.
All right, I'm done.
It's okay. I can appreciate the creativity, but still being able to recognize, back to the first episode, how we tend to view people on a very small segment. And therefore you are so different than I am just because of that one facet.
The irony too is, there's a couple points of irony. How different we really want to be from everyone else, and we're really not. But also how different we really are.
No.
So there's kind of 2 points of irony there. Like people who are desperately trying to be so unique, and it's like you look just like, all the other kids with goth attire, right? Remember when that was a thing? Yep, maybe it's a thing now, but like,
it's a different name.
I like to be different, therefore, probably,
yeah.
Skippity toilet. I doubt it's that.
People in black.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
That would be it.
But you would look at it, you could see like, I desperately want to be different than all you dumb people. So I'm going to look like all these people. But, there's this perception that I'm so different, and you end up falling into this other category of all the same. So that's kind of some irony to it. And I feel like that's a pretty common thing, and especially in high school where you're really trying to just find yourself. But then again, the flip side of that irony is that we are all very distinct. We use the term snowflake as this negative, in this negative connotation. Like you can't, like you think you're special and different than everyone. You're a snowflake or whatever. But the truth is, we actually are. We're snowflakes. There's no human being that's exactly the same as any other, despite our similarities, or even sometimes we try and look as similar to someone else as possible.
Sure.
But we're not that person.
Yeah.
We have our own unique. We also talked about like even if you share the same number, you can have such a drastically different upbringing or
context.
Or like we said, you could grow up in the same house, and the difference is I lived with you and you live with me. So then therefore we had a completely different upbringing.
Sure.
So yeah, I think it's, again, there's some irony there where if we could just accept the fact that yes, I am different already.
Yep.
I'm good enough. I'm different enough. I'm exactly
my uniqueness.
Easy for me to say as a 7. But,
I gotcha. But I think about that, and so often, in sessions and so forth, that difference between, right and wrong. So often we see right as the people like me, and wrong as the people that are different.
Yeah.
And yet being able to recognize, okay, different isn't wrong. Different is just unique in that process, and the ability that we have to be able to value that uniqueness is a important aspect of healthy living to a certain degree from my perspective. I'm thinking about it, as I'm thinking about ways that we're all the same or all different, I'm recognizing, we all have that God-shaped vacuum, if you will, that, or even if you want to bring it back to the primal question, or that, it's like that, what do I fill? And I think we all have that vacuum, but what we try to fill it with is going to be different for each person. In that process, very, very similar in having that, and that desire to want to be unique. I don't think, I was thinking about it in that context to the point of want people that have a desire to be just like everybody else. I'm not sure that's part of our, granted, a desire to fit in, maybe a desire to be accepted, but I think our desire is to be accepted for our uniqueness, not just because I'm exactly like you.
At the core, probably, I think sometimes we don't even know that. We see someone who represents success in what we want to be, and we think, if I could be exactly that, I'd be happy. And so we shoot for that, not recognizing that. It's kind of like getting desire to get rich, right? Like once I'm rich, I'll be happy. Well,
sure.
we know that's
once I get that
universally and
job,
fundamentally.
once I make
Right.
that much money, once I have
Correct. We know
the
those
house.
things are empty, and when you achieve those things, you look for the next thing to fulfill it. And it's the same with wanting to be just like that person. If I manage it, like I'm still empty because, like you said, my inner desire is actually to be unique, not to perfectly mimic or mirror someone else.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, our desire to be so, how kind of at the same time we want to be so different, and at the same time we want to look just like that person and that person, and we want to, we don't want, and my another podcast that I listened to, he would say it's about evolution and about our fear of being plucked out of the, like on the Serengeti, there's a lion, he goes for the one that's all alone, and whatever, and it's our fear of that, right? Like this idea of, if I'm not in the tribe, I will be plucked off and taken, right?
Gotcha.
Which to me, obviously makes sense, even without evolution, in terms of our tribology, has a lot to do with that. We don't want to be left alone and therefore vulnerable.
Sure. Well, I think even that has its spiritual connection, in that aspect of, someone who's outside of, the church or, that the community, if you will, they are a little more vulnerable,
Yep.
to that isolation.
Yep. And then there's the lone wolves who actually are outside, and they do just fine in terms of, they're not getting plucked off, but they're not doing just fine in the sense that they're lacking the community aspect that's so healthy and important for humans, But yeah, and then the other thing too is, like, once we've gotten right inside the bounds of that tribe, okay, I'm in, I'm safe. Now we're looking for ways to differentiate, right? Like to say, all right, but I want to be the alpha, male, female, whatever. I want to get to the top and have that, recognition. So what can I do? What's my unique path in this maze to get to that, right?
Wow, I hear you.
And as soon as and then sometimes if it can flip on us, right? Where if I try a certain path and it causes me to get ejected from the tribe, now we're back to, no, I'm just like you, and we're back to trying to, you know what I'm saying?
I hear where you're coming from. Yeah.
I've seen that occur growing up, and I think I've done it many times where it's like you try this certain joke, and you're like, I'm going to be real edgy. And it's like,
sure,
no one likes that. And you're like, oh, and now you're just trying to, like, I'm still cool. And you like, try and find the right shibboleth, right, again, to get back in. And
so dad jokes are part of your primal question then.
I guess so.
Yeah.
I guess so.
Yeah.
It certainly puts me in the in crowd of dads.
It's what it's evolved to.
Yeah. I'm a real dad.
There you go. Yeah. So the edginess is what can actually get you ejected from the group.
Or propel you, right?
Or
like,
propel
I mean,
you.
that's in like so many movies, right? Like,
sure.
You see that battle.
Yeah.
Yeah, pushing the line, but not.
Yep. You think about it from that reinforcement standpoint.
Yeah.
If it was successful, I'm likely going to do it again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think about, your story that you shared about kind of your upbringing a few episodes back. I forget what one it was a part of, but your story kind of stands out to me uniquely in the sense that it didn't seem to fit the normal trajectory of like trying to find where you fit in. You just walked where you walked. You knew you had access to the whole tribe, and you would go to this side. You go to you weren't trying to knock the guy off the top, and you weren't trying to not. And
yeah, no, like
you weren't worried about getting ejected because like you had your gun, so you just go hunting. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Your story is very unique in that sense of kind of a lot of the. I don't know, the just the way I see a lot of the people growing up around me and me, how I grew up.
Sure.
And just kind of trying to fight for the top or fight for your spot.
I'll admit, when you shared that analogy, that's not a desire on my part. I don't desire to be the alpha.
Yeah.
And I would, some of that's going to come back to me for birth order. Because my brother was the alpha.
Yeah.
So
you're like, you can have the alpha.
Yeah, you can have that. I don't care, to be the alpha. So that has no appeal to me.
Yeah. It's interesting.
But I don't, and then the other part of that is, it's like, I don't mind, leading a group, but it's not like that's my desire to seek it out.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the part that's foreign to me.
Yeah.
As far as seeking out the desire to be the leader of the group, it's like, nah.
Right.
I'll do that by osmosis.
Attached to it, right?
Yeah, I suppose.
I mean, How We Love, Marriage on the Rock. I mean,
yeah.
I recognize you co-lead that with Chris.
Chris,
but that's
Chris
the
is
same.
the real leader in love.
That's fair.
No, yeah.
You're the beta leader in that situation.
Yeah.
That's good.
No.
Nothing wrong with that.
Exactly.
But the point is, like, you teach on Friday nights once in a while.
Sure.
I don't know if that's considered leading, but, I think it is. But in the sense
I consider that teaching.
Yeah.
It is different for me in that context.
I think so too, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or like occasionally you would lead an F3 workout.
Yeah. I haven't done that in a while either.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, sure.
I probably should, in all honesty, but yeah.
Dr. Phil, come on.
That's another area of technology.
Oh,
Slack has moved on, and they changed the name, and it's like, I just honestly haven't bothered to re-update. I tried to, do a new invite, Ramsey's helped me, that whole kind of thing, but it's like, I couldn't get the technology to work, and it's like, man, if I can't get the technology to work.
Yeah. Someone else can lead this.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's good. I hear you.
But yeah, that's what it does come down to.
That's exactly the kind of thing whatever you are would do. Like, I don't need to get to the top. I'll just go around outside here, and that's fine.
Yeah, I'll still show up.
But
still
you're
part
also
of the
not
group.
like right. Like you're not like I'm out of here.
Yeah. I'm my own part of that group. It's not that I don't have a certain, leadership or
I'm sure there's lots and lots of people like you. I just don't know any.
Okay,
Like,
I'd give you that.
It's a very unique position. I'm so used to seeing people want to find their place in the group or get to the top or find. Maybe I'm not the top, but at least show me where I am on the totem pole. You know what I mean? Or like, screw all of you. I'm out of this tribe and lone wolf it, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And kind of So it's interesting.
Yeah. And I respect the fact. It's funny. You have referred to me as a lone wolf previously.
Yeah,
as well.
But I don't know that's accurate, right? Because you're not like.
But I do recognize that I can have a tendency to kind of just walk off and do my own thing, outside the group. But I'm not saying that's always healthy to live that as a lifestyle.
Right.
I think that's part of the difference, because so often, and a lot of people I work with, it's like, well, this happened and I'm just going to go live in isolation now. Yeah. That's a desire to continue in that trajectory. Yeah. It's not just a momentary thing where I've lost relationship and I'm going to transition to finding another group or, involving myself with other people. It's just a desire. I've fed up with people now. So I'm just going to go live in isolation. And that's a dangerous place to live from my perspective.
Yep, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think anything regarding you as a lone wolf is kind of more just humorous, but I think, by thinking about this whole thing, I definitely don't see that. Like, you haven't abandoned the tribe and therefore are staying out there. Like, that's just not my perception in any way.
I may go
shape,
camp
or
every
form.
now and
then.
then.
Exactly. You're the hunter-gatherer. You always come back with some food, some berries.
Yeah. So in that, as we're thinking about the uniqueness, the differences, what would you say are some of the major differences that you see in people? Or are there more similarities than difference? If you just throwing it out there.
I mean, I feel like we are all so similar in so many ways, but again, it just comes down to your lived experience and how that's impacted you. And empathy is about being able to hear your story and saying, "Oh, that's how it's different. That makes sense." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's a big question. I don't know I have a big answer. I think it's just a small answer of, we're very similar to each other, and yet we're all unique. So both are true. Yeah. Yes, and
Yeah. No, it's just as you think about. I shouldn't say, as I think about, how we're all unique. Well, as we're all the same, that God-shaped vacuum, but yet recognize everyone grew up so differently. Everyone has a different experience. There's some similarities, of course, that we can draw from.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is, I agree with you in that context. I don't think it's, an either or type thing. It's just it helps me recognize how sovereign God is in that process of being able to take all of that sameness, all of that uniqueness, and orchestrate it in such a way that each life has purpose, each life has meaning, and no matter what a person has done, wrong, right, different, God can still use all of that as part of the plan. And I don't have to, walk away. I think that's part of the beauty of Scripture too. We're reminded of, the mistakes that people make, their if I may, their wrongness, where they messed up. But yet that just helps me find a little bit of peace, even comfort in that process that, God still showed up in all these people's lives, and he orchestrated his purposes, even when they lied, they stole, they cheated, that kind of thing. It's just kind of interesting for me to be able to think about.
Yeah. Thinking of the primal questions, there are 7 of them, right?
Yep.
So essentially we're distilling all of humanity into 7 and saying you fall into one of these 7 or somewhere in the continuum. And I think in some ways we buck against that, saying, and we've talked about that before with personality assessments, like you can't pin me down or whatever. I'm different, What's so interesting is like even that number 7, it aligns with, that's how many notes there are. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And you think about the sheer number of songs in the world, past and present.
Wow. Sure.
Bach, Mozart, country. It's all pulling from that same set of 7.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
And just thinking about how unique. And then also you think about us, like there are sometimes litigations against musicians for stealing music.
Yeah, sure.
One example, common that's kind of gone down in history is Vanilla Ice.
Yeah.
Ice, doom, 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 doom.
Yep.
That was sampled, or, one, he would argue, not sampled from Under Pressure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Down
on me.
Yeah.
Doom, 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 doom. If you hear both those songs side by side, both just,
just the music track.
They're good jammers. They're good ones.
I hear you.
But you wouldn't think like, exact same song, right?
Sure.
Despite the fact that they use the same progression, same notes, maybe one slight accent different or whatever. They are their own unique snowflake of a song.
Sure.
Despite using that same thing. And then you think about the chord progression, G, C, D, E minor. That's like 90% of country songs, 62% of all worship songs, that same chord progression.
Sure.
And yet, it's so versatile. And so, and I think it's such a good analogy.
Yeah.
It really is, because every song is its own unique thing.
Sure.
It has its own place, its own space in this universe,
Yeah.
And I think, and then also you can tell when a song is a poser, right? You can tell when you literally just took that song and changed 3 words and called it your own. And
sure.
It has the kind of like, that's not cool,
Yeah.
Or you can tell when someone is just trying to beat this other artist and it's not genuine.
Okay.
It's like, I bet you're a pretty good artist on your own. I bet you're a pretty good singer. I bet you could come up with some pretty good lyrics, And that's true of humanity too. And I'm trying to be just like Mark. It comes across as disingenuous, and people go, it doesn't sit right. Like, why don't you feel trustworthy? And it's like, because I'm not being who I'm supposed to be. I'm supposed to be my specific version of myself, not a clone of someone else. And like, there's a lot of movies that make fun of the cronies, right? That are just like their boss, and they, they got their hat turned backwards to match him, and whatever. It's like no one respects them, right? They just push them aside and go right to the real source, right? The person who's actually, so that was kind of a nice little rabbit trail of mine. But Just thinking about how music and humanity, I mean, it's seven, you know?
Yeah. What makes an octave then? Is an octave 8?
An octave is, an octave.
Yeah, I thought that was a stack of 8,
yes,
and you go up another octave, and that's another stack of 8.
Might be, like, if you count the...
Maybe you redo the letter again. Oh, I don't know. I just thought of octaves as
someone
8.
who is a musician. Please tell us. Please tell us. All I know is there's no H.
I got you.
Chord, right?
Yeah.
There's no H key. So
I just always heard of octave, and I've always thought of it as 8.
Yeah,
but
it is 8.
Oh well, that's what I assumed. So I didn't know how that fit into 7.
0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I don't know.
Yeah, like I could see, and maybe I could see it working. You know, by the time you go up the next level.
Yeah.
Is that? But either way,
I know an octave is essentially the same note, just the next level up, next octave up. But yeah, I don't understand. I don't think that ties to notes. But
okay, no, I just like I say.
Yeah. I would love someone who knows to tell me. So
we'll see. That's our. We had 3 and 4 last week. Got some interaction. This ability to explain an octave.
Yes, please explain an octave.
Yeah,
how that compares to 7 notes.
Yes,
whether they translate. But also, you know, in terms of notes, like there's minors, there's flats, there's sharps. You know,
there's 2 options to each plain option.
Yeah. And so, you know, it's not that dissimilar from humanity either. I might be a mix of 6 and 7, or 1 and 7, or whatever. And
Yep.
Yeah.
No, it's fun to think. I was when you were describing that as the whole do re mi.
Yeah.
And then to do that backwards is Silent Night. Right? Is that correct?
Yeah, I think it was something like that. Yeah, it was some Christmas song.
Yeah, I think it's Silent Night, or is it Silent Night? But either way, it's definitely a Christmas song. Yeah.
Dun, 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 dun. Dun, dun, that's not Silent Night.
Joy to the World?
Yeah.
There we go.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yes.
Because I wouldn't know do re mi fa sol la ti do fa, right? Yeah.
Because it goes up, and that one goes dun, 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 down.
Oh, okay.
Right?
So yeah, Joy to the World.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Sales, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
It wasn't Silent Night, but yeah.
This is fun. 100. We're doing Christmas songs? Oh, no. Don't tell Megan.
No? Oh, wow.
She's going to give us a hard time. Give me a hard time.
Well, it was based on do re mi.
That's true.
So
That's
yeah.
True.
Yeah.
That's true.
The uniqueness that is in a song based on the order of notes that we're able to choose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, she's going to be on me because I'm anti-Christmas songs up until after Thanksgiving. And then I'm all Christmas songs until January 1-ish.
I got you.
And then it's back off.
I hear you. She would prefer to have Christmas songs all year round?
I think in her heart of hearts, she's with me. I think she would say that. And a lot, but I think she's very much, she loves Christmas. So she's, anytime there's an opportunity to think about Christmas, she wants to think about it. And I'm like, no, it's too sacred for me to become mundane. Like, I don't, you know what I mean?
I'm hearing where you're coming from.
I really like it to be in its very defined, distinct time frame. And I like to enjoy that time frame to its full extent without it being muddied.
I gotcha.
So that's like my thing. So people, this is an ongoing joke with a lot of friends. Like, I'm a Grinch, and I'm like, no, I'm the opposite. I protect the sanctity of this season.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So the rest of you are ruining it.
I hear you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's my Christmas
You're
theories.
a Christmas story person, It's like you show those movies just in that season.
Right.
Yeah. Oh.
And they're that much better.
I hear you.
You got the Christmas lights up, Christmas music playing, the cookies. The whole package works really well. But just a few pieces of it.
Just one seems inauthentic.
Yes, it's just not right.
Okay. Yeah.
So now you know. Now you all know how to be.
And I appreciate what you've shared. And I like to say that analogy of music in that context of same 7, but still unique in all of its difference. Yeah, the ability to arrange it in order. And I think so often, I think our lives are like that in the process of we have these opportunities.
Yeah.
That I'll call them opportunities that come our way. And we get a lot of choices.
Yeah.
It's not that it just has to be that one way because that's that song.
Yeah.
But each of our lives is an individual story, is an individual, and it's done best, if I may say so, when we just do that in unity, in what's the word when two harmony. That's the word I was looking for. In harmony with God.
Yeah.
In that process of don't worry about what those people are doing. Don't look to those people. You look to me, and there's enough broadness in who I am to represent all I want you to be. And you just let them be that other part that's not you.
Yeah.
And you just focus on the notes that I'm asking you to play, the story that I'm asking you to write, because you don't have to concern yourself with someone else's story. And that's, kind of when I think about it in the terms of the notes and the story in a song, that's kind of what comes to my mind is, that ability that we have to be able to say, okay, I don't need to be concerned about what song you're writing. I just need to be in harmony with God, doing what he's asking me to do, walking in obedience to the things. And that may even lead to certain difficulties.
Yeah.
In that process. I'm not saying that, it's going to be cake if I do it that way, but being able to recognize, okay, yeah, this is what I'm called to. And even those difficult parts are just part of the story that, adds to my individual uniqueness.
Yeah. The tough thing about what you're saying, though, is for kids growing up with some of those primal questions, we didn't have the option that we knew of to say, oh, this is about my story, whatever. All we had was, well, I guess that person's life is good. I guess I'll try that. You know what I mean? Like, when your primal question is, am I good enough? Or, am I safe? Or some of those ones, it can be very difficult to just believe, oh, my life is good as it is. Like, I have this opportunity to pave my own path and it will be a good one. It's like, no, I'm nothing. So I have to look at somebody who's something and then try to mimic what they're doing as best I can.
Gotcha.
And I think that's breaking out of that is so important, no matter what your primal question is, but learning what you said is true is crucial to health, I think.
No doubt.
Especially in purpose,
Well, and I think as you use the word purpose, it reminds me, I have the belief that, there are 4 things that only God can provide: unconditional acceptance, identity, security, and purpose. So whenever I'm trying to find those things outside of God, then that's going to be a more difficult process.
Yeah.
But when I'm recognizing they are fully available, and granted, I understand that as part of a journey. We don't come out of the womb basically saying, okay, I got all that I need in God.
Right.
I get that. But yet, as part of a journey, when we're able to recognize that all that we need is available there as a source, that makes a tremendous difference in our ability to find comfort, to find peace, to find joy, to find happiness even, because I think so often that happiness can seem elusive when I'm in the midst of conflict. But it's not that it's gone. It's just a circumstance of the moment. And I can still find joy in that process because I'm recognizing, okay, this is shaping me in a way that nothing else can. But I also understand that's not always comfortable. And sometimes I shy away from the things that are uncomfortable.
Yeah. Yeah. And, in comparison, right? When we're in comparison mode, we only see people's highlight reels and not the uncomfortable parts that they had to endure to get to where they are. And so when we try and copy their path and we encounter, discomfort or, challenges along the way, we think, oh, I must be doing it wrong.
Sure.
Right. Because that person clearly got there easy, and I am not. So what am I doing wrong? And I would say, well, number one thing you're doing wrong is you're trying to copy someone else.
Exactly.
So stop that.
Yeah.
But if you are going to go this road, then you have to recognize, there's challenges, no matter which direction you go.
No doubt.
And your challenges are going to be unique to you because of your unique place in this world too.
Sure.
So even if I try and copy someone's trajectory exactly, it's just not going to work out the same way. It just
No doubt.
it doesn't. The math doesn't work out. There's too many probabilities and odds and numbers.
Sure.
And all those good math things happening.
All those good math things.
Yeah.
And it's a good thing you're mentioning numbers as our 100th episode.
100th. Yes, that's
So
right.
yeah. Anything else you would like to make a part of our 100th episode?
I wish I had a popper. Wait, let me see if I can pull off this applause thing.
Oh, here we go. It's going to either be a drum roll or a applause, or are you ready? Here it comes.
I have to remember.
He's got to remember which one it was. Oh, he's got a button blinking, but nothing happened. I'm giving you the play button. Oh, there it is. Nice. Oh, that was a pretty good fade in and out. Nice job. That's why Justin
paid the big
that's
bucks.
right. That's why he is the technology guru. There you have it, folks.
Well, I did push the wrong one the first time. I don't know what that button did. It might have
It did absolutely
broke
nothing.
everything. Who knows? Yeah.
From an audio standpoint, it did absolutely nothing. But I appreciate your willingness to try the next button.
Thank you. Yeah.
So yeah.
So bottom left is the applause.
So thank you, folks. This was our 100th episode. It's been fun. Celebrate your given uniqueness.
That's right.
As you recognize, that you are uniquely created, designed with purpose and meaning. And Lord, and I almost made that a prayer, didn't I? And so yes,
you can make it a prayer.
Yeah. So Lord, we thank you for this 100th episode.
That's
and we
right.
thank you for our listeners, and we just praise you for who you are. And
Amen.
This is how we see it.
Hey, thank you for listening to our podcast. If you like How I See It, please do all the things that podcasts tell you to do. Subscribe, rate, review, follow us, and or talk nicely about us on social media. If you want to reach out, the email is us@howiseeit.click. Yep, I said .click, as in .click. Please tell your friends about this show, and we'll see you on the next one.